Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Our first story for tonight is called The Man Who Never Left the Ferris Wheel. This story was submitted by Tyler. This is his story. I was 19 years old when this happened. At the time, I was just finishing my first year of college and needed a summer job. My best friend Eric got hired at an amusement park about 40 minutes outside of town, and he convinced me to apply too. The place was called Silver Oaks Adventure Park. It wasn't one of those giant theme parks you see on TV. It was older, smaller, the kind of place families visited every summer. There was a Ferris wheel, a wooden roller coaster, a haunted house attraction, an arcade, and a midway filled with games. Honestly, it felt harmless, even charming. When I got hired, they assigned me to ride operations. Most day I worked the Ferris wheel. At first, I hated it. The shifts were boring. You sat in a booth, loaded gas, checked restraints, pressed buttons, repeated the process for 8 hours. But after a few weeks, I started enjoying it. You meet people, families, couples, tourists. You hear stories, watch kids get excited. It wasn't a bad summer job. Then people started talking about Cabin 7. That was the maintenance building behind the Ferris wheel. Employees weren't supposed to enter without permission. According to rumors, years ago, a worker disappeared there. Most people laughed about it. I did too, until the night I met Darren. Darren was an older maintenance employee, late 50s, gray beard, quiet, the type of guy who always seemed exhausted. One night after closing, he walked over while I was locking up. He pointed towards the Ferris wheel. Ever noticed him? I laughed. Noticed who? Darren didn't smile. The man in the red jacket. I looked around. Nobody was there. The park was empty. Darren stared at the top of the Ferris wheel. Never mind. Then he walked away. The next night, I saw him. At least, I think I did. Closing time had arrived. The last riders exited. I began my final safety check. When I looked up towards the highest gondola, someone was sitting there. A man, wearing a red jacket. Just sitting, perfectly still. I blinked, looked again. The seat was empty. I told myself it was exhaustion, nothing more. But after that, I started seeing him everywhere, standing near rides, watching from pathways, always wearing the same red jacket, always disappearing when I looked twice. Then came the storm. The park closed early because of severe weather. Guests left, employees rushed home. Only security and maintenance remained. Eric and I were finishing paperwork when lightning knocked out power. The entire park went dark. For several seconds, everything disappeared. No music, no lights, no sound. Then emergency generators kicked in. Dim yellow lights illuminate the pathways. That's when Eric froze. He was staring through the office window. Who's that? I followed his gaze. My stomach dropped. The man in the red jacket stood beside the Ferris wheel, motionless, watching us. Lightning flashed, and for a second, his face became visible. And I realized something. His eyes, they were closed. Yet somehow, he was looking directly at us. The next lightning strike came, and he was gone. Eric and I ran outside. Nobody was there. No footprints, no sign of anyone. The following day, we asked Darren. The old maintenance worker went pale. Then he told us a story. 22 years earlier, a teenage employee named Michael had been working the Ferris wheel. Near closing time, witnesses saw him arguing with someone. Nobody knew who. Later that night, Michael vanished. Police searched for weeks, but nothing. No body, no clues, no answers. Until maintenance workers opened Cabin 7. Inside, they found Michael's red jacket, folded neatly on a chair. That's all. He was never found. Ever since then, employees occasionally reported seeing a man in a red jacket, always near the Ferris wheel, always after dark, always watching. A week later, I was scheduled for closing alone. I hated it, but I needed the money. The park emptied, guests left, the sky darkened. By 11:15 p.m., I was finishing inspections. Then the Ferris wheel started moving by itself, slowly, one rotation, then another. I ran to the control booth. Nobody had activated it. The power indicator was off. The ride shouldn't have been able to move. Yet it continued turning, slowly, creaking, groaning, like something was riding it. Then one gondola stopped at the very top. I looked up, and there he was, the man in the red jacket, sitting alone, eyes closed, motionless, facing me. The wheel suddenly stopped. Everything became silent. Then a voice echoed across the empty park, not loud, barely a whisper. Yet somehow I heard every word. Help me. The voice came from the top gondola. My legs felt weak. I grabbed my flashlight and climbed emergency stair leading towards the wheel's maintenance platform. I don't know why. Curiosity maybe? Or stupidity? Halfway up, I heard footsteps above me. Slow footsteps. Walking across metal. Then the whisper returned. He's still here. I stopped. Every hair on my body stood up. Who's still here? I shouted. No answer. Then another lightning flash illuminated the wheel. For one horrifying second, I saw two figures inside the gondola. The man in the red jacket and another figure sitting beside him, smiling. The light vanished. I ran. I don't remember climbing down. I don't remember reaching the parking lot. I just remember running. The next morning, police searched the area after I reported what happened. Inside cabin 7, they discovered something hidden behind the wall panel. A box. Inside were old photographs, employee records, and evidence connecting a former maintenance supervisor to Michael's disappearance decades earlier. The supervisor had died years before, but investigators believe Michael had been murdered. His remains were eventually discovered buried beneath concrete behind cabin 7. The case finally had answers. The park held a memorial. People said Michael could finally rest. Maybe they're right, because after that, nobody ever reported seeing the man in the red jacket again. Tyler finished with, but here's the part that still keeps me awake. The night before they found Michael, when I saw him sitting atop the Ferris wheel, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me, towards cabin 7, towards something standing behind me in the darkness, something that disappeared before I could turn around. Our second story of the night is called The Closed Haunted House. This was submitted by Megan. I was 20 years old when I got a summer job at an amusement park called Black River Adventures. Unlike most employees, I didn't work rides. I worked inside the haunted house attraction. Every day, I put on makeup, wore costumes, and jumped out to scare guests. It was fun, at least in the beginning. The haunted house was one of the park's oldest attractions, built in the early 1980s. Most of the employees loved it because of the stories. Every amusement park has legends. The haunted house had dozens. People claimed they heard voices after closing, saw shadows moving between rooms. Some employees swore a little girl wandered the attraction after midnight. I never believed any of it until the night we got locked inside. It happened near the end of summer. The park had closed, guests were gone. 5 of us stayed behind to help clean. There was me, my friend Sarah, a guy named Nick, our supervisor Jason, and another employee named Kyle. After 11 p.m., Jason locked the front entrance while we worked our way through the attraction, room by room, cleaning, resetting props, checking equipment. The haunted house was enormous. Twisting hallways, hidden passages, fake cemeteries, creepy hospital rooms. It took forever. After midnight, Kyle noticed something strange. One of the animatronics had activated by itself. Nobody was near it. Jason blamed faulty wiring, but then another one activated, then another, all over the attraction. The entire building suddenly filled with mechanical screams. Sarah laughed nervously. Nobody else did. Then every light went out. Complete darkness. Someone cursed. Someone else screamed. Then emergency lights activated. Red lights. Just enough illumination to see shapes. Nothing more. Jason grabbed his radio. No signal. Phones had no service either. We decided to leave. That's when we discovered the front entrance wouldn't open. The doors were sealed shut. Jason tried keys, and nothing worked. Then we heard a child laughing, somewhere deep inside the attraction. Not recorded, not mechanical, a real laugh. Sarah looked terrified. Did you hear that? We all did. The laughter came again, closer this time. Then footsteps, running, fast, tiny footsteps, like a child sprinting through the halls. Kyle chased after the sound. He disappeared around the corner. A second later, he screamed. The scream echoed through the entire building, then stopped. We ran towards it, and Kyle was gone, completely gone. We searched everywhere, but there was no sign of him. No hidden exits, no doors open, just nothing. Just his flashlight lying on the floor. When we saw writing on a wall, fresh writing, it hadn't been there earlier. It said, "Don't follow her." Nobody wanted to stay. We split up trying to find another exit. Worst decision of my life. I stayed with Sarah. The others went another direction. As we searched, we kept hearing the little girl, laughing, running, whispering. At one point, I saw her, standing at the end of the hallway. White dress, long, dark hair, maybe 8 years old. She looked directly at me, then ran around the corner. Sarah saw her too. We followed. When we reached the corner, there was nobody there. Only another message scratched into the wall. She wants you lost. Then we heard Jason screaming. We ran towards the sound, found him curled up in a fake hospital room, pale, shaking. He pointed towards the bed. Underneath it, we looked, nothing there. But Jason kept repeating, "I saw her face." Over and over, I saw her face. After 2 a.m., the emergency lights died. Darkness swallowed everything. Then a voice whispered beside me. So close, I felt breath on my ear. It said, "Stay." I ran. Everyone ran. Somehow, we found an emergency exit. We burst outside. Police arrived shortly after. They searched the entire attraction. They finally found Kyle, unconscious, in a maintenance tunnel, alive, but traumatized. He refused to talk about what happened. Months later, park records revealed something disturbing. A little girl had died during construction of the haunted house decades earlier. A falling beam killed her. The accident was covered up. Most employees never knew. Megan finished with, "Today, a new building stands there, but former employees still tell stories about hearing laughter after dark and seeing a little girl standing where the entrance used to be, waiting for someone to follow her." Our last story for tonight is called "The Last Ride Before Midnight." This story was submitted by Anthony. This happened when I was 18. It was my first job. The summer after high school graduation, I worked at an amusement park called Midway Kingdom. I operated the carousel, probably the least exciting ride in the entire park. Kids loved it, employees hated it. The same music, the same lights, the same routine every single day. The carousel had one strange rule, the rule everyone joked about: never run it after midnight. Nobody explained why. They just said, don't. Naturally, I assumed it was nonsense. Then came Labor Day weekend, the busiest weekend of the year. The park stayed open late, crowds everywhere, and by midnight, I was exhausted. The carousel finally closed, and the guests left. The employees started cleaning up. As I prepared to shut down the ride, I noticed something strange. One horse was moving, very slowly, up and down, by itself. The carousel wasn't running. The power was off, yet the horse continued moving. I walked closer. That's when I saw the little boy. He sat on the horse, maybe 7 years old, dark hair, blue jacket, just staring at me. I approached. Hey, buddy, park's closed. There was no response. Then I blinked, and he was gone. I searched the ride. Nothing. No child, no footprints, no sign anyone had been there. I told security, and they laughed, said I was tired. Maybe they were right. Until the next night, closing time again, the carousel music started playing on its own. The ride remained still, but the music played. Slow, distorted, like it was an old record. Then every horse turned towards me, not physically, just their heads, all facing me. At least that's how it looked. I ran. The next morning, I asked an older employee named Frank. The moment I mentioned the boy, his face changed. He asked, "Blue jacket?" I nodded. Frank sighed, then told me a story. Years ago, a child disappeared from the carousel. Witnesses claimed he vanished during a ride. Parents looked away for seconds. When they looked back, he was gone. Police searched for months, and nothing. The boy was never found. His last location was the horse number 17, the exact horse I'd seen moving. That night I checked. Horse number 17 still existed. Blue paint, golden saddle, exactly as described. Near midnight, I heard the music again. This time the carousel started rotating, slowly. No power, no operators, just movement. I grabbed my flashlight, then I saw him, the little boy, riding horse 17, smiling. Behind him sat dozens of other children, all silent and all staring forward. Children from different eras, different clothes from different decades, every one of them pale, motionless. The carousel completed one rotation, then another, then another. The music grew louder, faster. Wrong. The children began turning their heads, one by one, until all of them stared directly at me. The boy in the blue jacket pointed behind me. I turned and saw a man standing outside the ride, watching. Tall, shadowy, featureless. The children looked terrified. Not of me, of him. The boy shook his head, warning me. Then everything stopped. The music ended, the carousel froze, and the children vanished. Weeks later, investigators uncovered something horrifying. A former employee from the 1970s had been linked to several disappearances connected to traveling carnivals, including the missing child from Midway Kingdom. Evidence hidden for decades finally surfaced, and families received answers. And strangely, the sightings stopped. No more music, No more moving horses, no more children. But I still think about one thing. When the boy pointed behind me, he wasn't asking for help, he was warning me. Because whatever was standing beside the carousel that night wasn't a ghost, and it wasn't gone when I left. Thank you for listening. And if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to submit your story, email me at tonightsbroadcast77 at gmail.com. Until the shadows call again, good night.